let's talk about Riley Herbst. Give him a ton of credit. Went out and won by almost 15 seconds. A good old spanking of the field here in the Xfinity Series. And Brandon, I got to do it to you. I apologize. I had to eat some Fernando Alonso crow earlier this year. I'm going to make you eat some Riley Herbst crow right here, right now.
I got my bowl.
I'll say he won't get it this season. Now, I might be proved wrong, and I probably will be proved wrong, but I don't know if the consistency is there. I still want to say I don't think Riley Herbst is going to win the rest of the season. It's still on my mind. I still don't think he's going to make it.
Riley Herbst rounding out a good day with the top 10, although nothing against the team. I personally think I'm still holding with my prediction a few weeks ago that he's not going to get a victory this year. I still think it's going to elude them somehow, but I'd love to be proven wrong as always. Are we back on?
Oh. Yes, we are.
Well,
I'll tell you,
what a jerk that guy was, right?
What
a jerk. Oh, what? Forget that guy. Riley Herbst is an awesome race car driver. Did I mention that?
He certainly was on Saturday. I mean, 15 seconds is there's no arguing this one. He absolutely earned it. But we'll go to you first here, Brandon. What do you have to say about Riley Herbst and how much of a statement win this was by that entire number 98 team on the heels of them announcing they're continuing their relationship going into 2024?
Yeah, that's weird how that matches up, isn't it? You get the contract extension with Stewart-Haas. Tony Stewart sees something in this kid, sees something in Riley Herbst. So does Monster Energy. And so he goes out there and gets the storybook result of the year. You win at your home track. That's really cool for Riley Herbst. And I didn't realize until you put that compilation together that I mentioned him 3 times. That's a little bit much. That's kind of almost as bad as I did Josh Berry last year on a positive side. I mentioned him too much last year. I guess this year my brain chose Riley Herbst to pick on. I'm sorry, Riley, if you ever see this. I don't know you personally, so but yeah, you showed me. You put the spanking on the field at Vegas, and all credit to you, man. Sorry you're not fighting for a championship, but that's good for you. And also next year you get to keep that ride going. But I find it so weird that it lines up right with the announcement of the contract extension, and that just I guess was it just the drive of like, heck yeah, we get to stay here another year. Let's go win this thing. Or like, it feels like that's just too much of a fluke for that not to be some sort of motivation for the team and for Riley to kick it into high gear. But also, like, I need to see Custer finished 3rd. So there's his teammate.
Yeah. So
was it just fast equipment there for the Fords and SHR?
Yeah, I think that was certainly part of it. I mean, Custer being up there, second only, or I guess the only car that finished ahead of one of the Stewart-Haas cars was John Hunter Nemechek, and we've obviously been talking all year about how great he's been. I think that there was. I mean, you want to talk about expecting disqualification? I think the people that throw around all the terrible Herbst memes, they were saying, no, this can't. Riley Herbst's going to win by 15 seconds on pure pace on a mile and a half, But I can't do anything other than, give him a lot of, because I've been critical at times as well. Riley's had some great equipment in his career. Joe Gibbs Racing now here with Stewart-Haas and a big part of the Toyota and Ford development programs. Hadn't won a race yet. And we were starting to get to the point of wondering, well, is he ever going to win a race? And, there certainly isn't the equipment excuse. He won a couple races in ARCA, had some solid runs there, but since he's gotten into the Xfinity Series, he's never quite been able to break through. If this isn't a breakthrough, I don't know what is. This was not, the guy staying out on old tires and getting lucky on an overtime finish as the field wrecked behind him. This wasn't, a rain-shortened or lightning strike-assisted victory. This wasn't a fuel mileage race. He drove to the front. He stayed at the front, and he pulled away from the rest of the field by almost 15 full seconds there at the end. I think the previous record they said on the NBC broadcast was actually NBC's own Jeff Burton in 2002. I think won by something like 8 or so seconds. So he almost doubled that. Riley Herbst put on an absolute clinic, and he deserves all the credit in the world for that. It's a shame that he's not in the postseason picture right now, because otherwise he'd be punching his ticket to have a shot at a title at Phoenix in a couple of weeks. But all credit where it's due. It was a phenomenal run for him, and we'll see what this does for him going forward. I can only imagine the shot in the arm and the morale booster this is going to be for everybody on that 98 program heading into next year, having just announced that deal.
Yeah, that brought to mind. Talk about Jeff Burton being the previous holder at Vegas. I remember something about him winning that race and then complaining about Las Vegas and cookie cutter tracks. He was like, "Yeah, I'm not really a big fan of this place, but we can win here, so that's fine."
It came up on Twitter this weekend. Actually, I think Alan Cavano was doing a flashback to a 2007 Busch Series race at the time, which was actually the first race in the series I ever watched. And still, the thing that stands out most to me, Jeff Burton won that race as well, ironically enough, over Kyle Busch in a throwing finish that saw Kyle spin across the line in second. But you got to go down to Shane Huffman in ninth before you find the first series regular. And 26 of the 43 drivers in the field that day were Cup Series regulars. 26 and a half. You can throw Regan Smith in there, who was doing a partial schedule for Gann at the time. I always point back to that race. I say, like, when we complain about Cup drivers in the lower levels these days, like, just think back to where it was 16 years ago. And that is something else to think about there. But another thing that stands out to me from that race is Tony Stewart was being interviewed in the pre-race and said that they've absolutely, because that was the first race, I think, under a new configuration, and saying that they destroyed that track and he was not a fan of what they did with it. And then he went out and I think finished third that day too. So what do you know?
Yeah, it's people that hate it the most that are the best at it, I guess. I like Chip Ganassi loves winners. I love first-time winners. I hope that's a constant theme, and I don't show anything else on this show. No matter how much I talked about them, if it's a first-time winner, I'm game. I always love it. I always love that story, no matter who it is. I like Ty Gibbs' first win because I didn't know what he was going to become, but I loved his first win.
Well, and that happened on debut. Yeah. I mean, how often do you see that? And this wasn't like, Kurt Busch won in his series debut, but he had been a Cup regular for 6 years before that or whatever. Like, that was a true series debut in Xfinity, and he went out and took
unbelievable talent.
Yeah. I mean, we can criticize the guy's maturity and some of his, on-track behavior, but
kid can drive.
Yeah, you can't deny his talent.